Or two, someone had tipped them off. For a moment, I suspected Therese. It had been her first mission. She'd known the plans, but I discounted this quickly. I'd seen the look on her face when her digger swerved. That was fear you couldn't fake. She could have left me for dead too, but she'd risk her life to save me. I flicked my radio back on. Therese, we need to stop. No, we need to get back to camp. They might be following us. If they can track us back to camp, they'll kill everyone. Therese didn't say anything, but I saw her digger begin to slow ahead of me. Let's find a tunnel, cut through, and then talk. Radios off. We clicked our radios off. A few minutes later, Therese cut through the wall of a tunnel. It was unlit, which meant it was probably new and hadn't been attached to the power grid yet. I figured that was a good thing. We'd see the lights from anyone else coming a mile away. We turned off our diggers and got out. I flicked on my headlamp. I felt sick to my stomach, but I needed to focus. We need to make sure we can't be tracked. Then we need to get back to camp. She nodded. We searched our diggers for any trace of tracking devices. I wasn't even 100% sure what one would look like. It would have to be something small that you could hide quickly. You'd need a lot of time and specialized tools to be able to put it inside the engine block or inside the hole. We pulled out the seats, ran our hands along the insides of the trunk and hood, anywhere that you could gain easy access. Christopher, if we do find something, then that means someone had to put it there. I nodded but just kept looking, convinced we'd find something, but we found nothing. Therese gave a sigh of relief. I didn't. Just because nobody booby-trapped our diggers, it doesn't mean there isn't a traitor. It could mean the Landers found a way to listen to us back at camp, she said. But if that were the case, why not attack the camp? Or were they on their way and this attack was a distraction to keep us away? We've got to get back, she said, suddenly panicked. If the Landers know where the camp is, they'll be heading there now. Therese jumped back in her digger. I waved to her before she could close the lid. Let's keep radio silence until we get close. And don't mention anything about the attack. We need to keep everyone calm so we can move without panic. What do I say about Finn? We'll say he was brave, that he dived in cave-ins as we were heading home. Until we know what's going on, we need to lie. She gave me a nod and we were off. The quickest way for Landers to get to the camp was through the tunnels, starting from the storage depot. I assumed they'd have to attack on foot. The elevator had been the only way to get big machines below ground. They didn't, as far as I knew, have any diggers, so it would take them a while to find the camp in the underground maze. Even if they could pinpoint where the camp was, they would need to keep turning down different tunnels until they got there. But if I was wrong, we'd be sitting ducks. Pavel was listening for any sign of movement near the surface. He'd never even hear Landers marching underneath. I had a sickening thought. Maybe we'd brought a homing device back with the food we'd taken from the Landers. Maybe they'd wanted us to steal the food. We'd used our storeroom as the meeting room. If they'd been listening in, they'd have known everything we'd been planning. All the raids and all the places we'd moved our supplies and spare diggers. All the ways we could possibly escape them if they did attack. But that didn't make sense. We'd blown up a key elevator shaft, and we'd stolen the food. Why would they let that happen? I thought back to Coventry, Elena's lecture on how far a real leader was prepared to go to win. Had the Landers allowed us to win one small victory in order to win the war against us? Or had someone else? If there was a spy, who could it be? Finn was dead. If he'd been the traitor, he'd been a bad one. Alec was starting to come around, but was still practically in a walking coma. Jimmy had barely left his bed for 2 days. Pavel? Mandeep? The other grinders? I ran through all the possibilities, and 2 names kept rising to the top of the list. The 2 living people who probably meant the most to me in the world, Fatima and Elena. Elena was always questioning my decisions. She'd manipulated the last few meetings to get her way, and had devised much of the strategy. She knew every bit of our plans down to the minutest detail. Elena had been up top for days after the attacks. What if the Landers hadn't overlooked her? What if they'd captured her and trained her, brainwashed her somehow? What if she traded her life for the rest of our lives? No, I wouldn't believe it. Elena would never do that. Could Fatima? If I were a grinder, I'd feel no love lost for a corporation that used me like that.